stay over there.
And there's Tom just to give us a hand with the dinghy if need to be pushed around, and that's where we're going right there. And it's really slow. Really, a snail would be as fast as this is going up. It takes about half an hour to come up this ramp. It does take quite a while. And now I'm just going through and getting rid of all these bits here, these shell bits, so it just gives us a gentle scraper and scrape them.
Oh, come on.
How's that?
Couple of days work and she's looking good, nice and clean. And time to take the rudders off. Tiare anyway is lashed on, so there's a series of ropes that need to be cut. These rudders are really heavy. When in the water they float, but out of the water they are fairly heavy. So there's just a simple process of cutting them off and letting them down nice and slowly. It does take a few hands to do this. So don't leave off here, but leave on a piece of wood. Or do it that way, of course. So we lift the rudders up, put them out somewhere I can work on them, nice flat area. Then I can start digging in and finding out what's actually gone wrong and why I'm getting some cracking in the rudder. 40% moisture is too high. I would expect somewhere between 10 to 15% at the most, so yep. And meanwhile Sam's looking into why we've got a small crack in the paint on the starboard hull.
I just let this dry out as much as possible.
Okay. And before I can do any repairs, I need to sand this down to the bare wood and let it dry out. A few years ago when we launched on another concrete ramp, the boat went sideways, bounced off the concrete wall and created a fair bit of damage on its way into the water. Nothing structural, but it does need some cosmetic work.
Whoa, seriously cold this morning. It's only about 3 degrees Celsius. Not sure what that is in Fahrenheit, but damn, it's cold.
And in fact, the temperatures had dropped so much, my paint had stopped drying. And then it only got worse. The weather carried on for several days. Well, the rain, the hail and the sleet did eventually stop, the sun came out and we could get on with the glassing. However, the temperatures were so low that the epoxy really wasn't going to set. It took a long time to set. In fact, it wasn't going to set at all. So we had to come up with a way to speed the process up, which was I created this insulated box, put some hand warmers in, the little pocket warmers you get, into that box, and put the epoxy and the hardener into little containers, sealed it all up, and yeah, it got hot enough to work with. However, we did have to come up with a way to keep the epoxy warm while it was curing. And again, pocket warmers to the rescue. Insulated foam, pocket warmers, all taped down, kept it nice and warm and made it work. The filler was a different story. Obviously I couldn't put anything on there, so that was just many hours with a hairdryer. Get nice and warm, so it get hard enough to sand down. Here's the first coat there. Those yellow pieces of tape mark where I've scratched the hull while we were scraping it, and need to be repaired before we can put some anti-foul on there. Under the yellow tape is some glass fibre and epoxy keeping warm. That bottom hole there is what I have to find out what is happening.
It's not something people see very often in here, myself included. Anyway, so the problem is around about down in there, so I'm going to turn this off because I haven't actually got a light on here. It looks looks right at the moment, but we'll see.
The issue was I had some discoloration coming through to the top of the paint and I wasn't sure where it was coming from. Fortunately, just a local blemish and nothing serious. It was 3:30 in the morning, it was pitch black, the tide was dropping before we finally managed to get Tiare sliding into the water. Unfortunately, we took out the starboard rudder and a bit of the teak railing at the back. Now it's taken me a couple of years to get the teak organised. Now the yard has a thicknesser, these are 30mm planks, they've got to be taken down to 18mm. It was painful to watch all that teak end up on the floor. Although the weather made the work very challenging, we're still very grateful to be in this part of Japan, with other parts having record snowfalls and low temperatures. Putting the rudders back on is the opposite of taking them off, with the additional step of loosely lashing the bottom of the rudder so it doesn't swing around. And then slowly lifting it up onto the ledge there, and then tighten up that bottom lashing while the top is also tightened up and made fast. Doing the lashings is normally a two-man job, one on each side of the rudder, but with that little thing I can do it on my own along with some little wooden spiles. We're nearing the end of the list of chores we have to do, and the wild weather has finally calmed down. All the scratches have been filled, and now we're about to put 2 coats of anti-foul on. We wait a day and then she slips back into the water. Due to the extremely cold weather, we'd run out of time to put the final blue top coats onto the starboard rudder. Nearly 3 weeks since she was first hauled out. The wind had died down, the sun had come out, and the brake was being released. With a slight jolt, Tiare slowly made her way back down into the water.